Hello everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everybody, Cantonese Cat here. I'm just gonna go through some fintech stocks, most of which I have a stake in, some of which I don't. The one that I'm really bullish on is Robinhood, and the reason why I'm bullish on Robinhood is because a couple things. First of all, this is a weekly chart of Robinhood. I drew this Gantt square here based on some of the standard number, 360 and 1 is what I have, and if you do that, you see some beautiful market symmetry here. And what you're really seeing here is it's just been breaking one arc after another after another. And right now we might be at a point where we're breaking maybe another arc so far. And if we're able to break about this arc over here, it could potentially gravitate underneath this 45-degree angle and get up to the low 30s by maybe Q1 or Q2 of 2025, which is not a bad gain at all. I mean, this looks really nice in terms of the higher highs and higher lows, even during the August 5th scare. All of it is just really back testing this horizontal line over here and bounced, got back inside the arc, and right now is peeking his head outside of it now. So there's really nothing bearish about this chart that I'm really that worried about. If you look at a Bollinger Band, you still look like you got some additional room to kind of go up a little bit higher. It's also squeezing a little bit, telling you maybe a bigger move is going to come. And I think the move is probably going to end up going up, whenever that big move ends up coming. The Ichimoku cloud, a little bit of bearish cross here, but no big deal. We are really way above a lot of the support underneath down here below. The 2-week Ichimoku cloud still serves a little bit as a resistance here. But in this candle is going to probably close by the end of next week, not this week, but next week. And I think that price, all it has to do is just hold this arc over here, and all it has to do is just go sideways, and it'll be broken above the arc, the Ichimoku cloud here. The monthly Ichimoku cloud is all the way over here, but we have the Tenkan and Kijun bullish cross down here. And we also have price kind of back tested back in August of the monthly Tenkan and Kijun, and it held. And right now it just looks like we have a very nice bullish engulfing candle over the last couple of months of price action. So there's really nothing bearish about this chart. I have a position I'm going to keep holding. I'm not going to add, but I'm very happy about what it's doing right now. That's Robinhood. Now you're talking about Affirm. What I have for Affirm is that this is also a very bullish chart here. I think at the Gantt here on the weekly, I'm just going to take that off for now. But looking at the Ichimoku cloud, it just basically bounced through the Tenkan and Kijun on the month of August, and right now it's just back testing the Tenkan here as support and is holding. The entire uptrend over here since November, December 2022 to around December 2023 was on high volume. This is very, very high volume. And the entire downtrend from January all the way to July is on very low volume. So you know that the bears are not committal when it comes to selling. And all it takes just a little bit of volume to come in last month, and you had this engulfing candle to engulf the previous 6 months of price action. And I think that the next logical step is going to keep pushing up higher. But there are some things that are a little bit restricting it. It's not because of the monthly Bollinger Band. I think there's still some room for a monthly Bollinger Band to continue to expand up higher, for price to go up higher. But I think it really is coming from the weekly Bollinger Band, where we're just a little bit more overextended here in the short term. It's just building up a little bit of like a wedge or a ascending triangle, whatever you call it. And right now we're just kind of getting back close inside the upper Bollinger Band here. But the Bollinger Band is expanding here on the weekly, and you also see the 20-week moving average is also pointing up. So this is a very, very nice breakout, and I do think that this breakout is probably going to end up having some pretty decent bullish continuation, because a couple of things. One is it broke above the weekly Ichimoku cloud on very high volume, and we already had a back test Ichimoku cloud already twice, and we held. The second thing is you have a katana, which is basically the fusion on the Tenkan and Kijun here, and it's been fused for about 4 weeks. Whenever these things starts to break apart, whenever the blue starts to get above the red and it starts expanding, that's usually when a very, very nice, big move is going to happen. I think it's going to be a bullish move whenever this works out, because right now price is above the cloud and it's above the Tenkan and Kijun here. We call this a katana. I had another video. You search katana, like the swords. If you search katana and under Cantonese Cat, you'll see what I mean by that. But this is generally very, very bullish kind of look to it. I like it. Last time when I see something like this with Robinhood, kind of like this, and it ends up making a very big move, right? So I like these kinds of look. They're generally pretty promising. So I'm happy to see Affirm doing well. Now, if you ask me how far I think Affirm's going to go, I think Affirm, and as crazy as it sounds, I think Affirm can hit like $90 sometime around 2025. And that's not an exaggeration. I think it just needs, right now it's underneath resistance, right? And we got rejected here at the arc over here. We are at resistance. We probably spend another few months, maybe around the 40s, 50s, and 60s, if it ends up breaking inside the arc over here. But I do think that at some point 2025 it's probably going to break about this arc. It's probably going to hit somewhere up here in the higher arc. And I think like 90 is not a unreasonable target to consider. Just based on the fact that like I don't think it's going to like bump all the way down to the previous all-time high like 170s. I think that's going to take years to really kind of get to. But I do think that 90 is a potentially a reasonable target for you to hit. Just because I think 90 is also the kind of like the halfway point, if you will, from the top to the bottom. If you do a little bit of a log scale Fibonacci, you can see that that's also the 0.786. Right now we still underneath the 0.618. We need to break above that. And next thing you know, if we break above this zone over here around the arc, around the horizontal line, and around the 0.618 log Fibonacci, the next logical level is going to be like around $90, which is where I'm kind of seeing Affirm doing over the next year or so. I think it's probably going to hit $90. And that gives me a lot of strong confidence because this downtrend here is on very low volume. I think this whole thing right here is reaccumulation, and I've done accumulation down here, and I've also done reaccumulation together with the whales. And I'm ready. I have my bags packed. I'm not going to buy anymore. I'm just going to sit back and see what it does. Another one that I'm very bullish on is Sofi. Now, Sofi is also kind of stuck between resistance and support. If you can look at the GAN here, and again, I drew this GAN here on the weekly 360, I think 360 and 1. And you get this beautiful GAN chart with some very, very nice market symmetry, rejection or horizontal zones here. And found support here in the arc, broke underneath the angle down here, but eventually we're able to reclaim the angle from resistance here back into support, right? And I think right now we're just building up energy to break through a couple of resistance levels. One is the arc over here, and I think next week it's gonna end up breaking. All it has to do is just go sideways, and you end up breaking that. The other thing is to try and break above the weekly Chimoku, which is still having a little bit of a hard time doing. But again, I think next week the cloud gets thinner and thinner. I think there's a good chance we might end up just breaking through and go up, a lot higher from there afterwards, whenever we end up breaking through the resistance here above. Now, I do think that once the resistance is broken, I think that the downtrend is really over because it's been happening on declining volume, and it's been happening for a very, very long time. So I think the downtrend is over. I think that even if you don't look at the GAN, if you just look at other more simple things like, you can just draw a simple trend line from this high up here going through and touch these lows down here. You can see a very nice, beautiful trend line that has serviced, some pretty strong resistance here for months and months and months. And we have broken above of it now. We are now finding support here at the angle. So I think the next move is probably going to go up, and I think whenever it ends up going up, it can be pretty powerful whenever that ends up, transpiring, whenever it happens, right? And I can see it potentially hitting like, $10 here in a hurry. I can even potentially see it hitting the arc up here in a hurry, maybe around like 12, 13, or dare I say it, around $14. Could it happen by the end of the year? I doubt it. I don't want to be too crazy, but I think maybe sometime around 2025, I think it can potentially hit the arc up around here. And I do think that 14, which is a very important level throughout 2021, I think 14 could potentially be a pretty strong resistance level whenever it gets up here. So we'll see, but SoFi to 14 is kind of what I'm seeing here. Now, another one that has gotten pretty bullish, and again, I have SoFi. SoFi is one of my top 5 position. Affirm is one of my top 10. Hood is one of my top 20. Now, PayPal, I don't have a big position yet, but I am trying to build one right now as we speak. I'm not being too aggressive because I see everything rally. I want to buy other things, but I'm really buying DCing to PayPal more on a weekly basis now. I do have a GAN chart here. This is done on a weekly, 1440 and 1, and you can see how beautiful the market symmetry this has, right? Breaking from arc to arc, and then basically finding resistance here at arc. Now, we have finally broke back through this arc up here, which means that the price would naturally gravitate up here to the top of the arc here, right? Now, before it gets there, there are a few issues. We did end up breaking above the Ichimoku. We are having a little bit of Katana, and Katana is playing out. You have a separation of the Tengen Kijun here, and this green candle last week is on high volume. All these things are very, very promising. There are a couple of caveats to that. One is if you look at the Bollinger Band on the weekly, we're a little bit overextended here on the weekly. On the monthly, we also have gotten rejected here on upper Bollinger Band. Like, these things are very clear. There's no question about it. But we're also flipping the 20-month from the from a negative sloping to like a little bit more positive sloping kind of thing here. So I think that we are looking more and more bullish over time, but we are hitting a lot of these different long-term resistance here on the monthly upper Bollinger Band here, you can see. And even for the Ichimoku cloud, you can see that we're hitting the Kijun over here, and we're currently above of that, but I'm not sure we end up just closing above it. I think we might end up retracing, might just end up being a little bit awake here this month, or next month we might end up going down again. After three, we call this three white soldier pattern, is probably going to have some bullish continuation over next year. But usually after the three white soldier, you might end up having a little bit of correction down before going up. So I do think that we're at some pretty important resistance zone over here, and I'm going to try and use this area here if I end up being right to accumulate, and that's what I'm doing with PayPal. I think that it makes the most sense for PayPal over the next year to hit the bottom of the cloud. Wherever it hits, it's going to be triple digits. I think it will happen. I just don't know when, and I don't know how exactly it's going to do it in terms of its path. But I think that this is like a natural area where it gravitates towards, and that also fits what I'm seeing here on the Gann chart. I think the natural level is going to be either up here at the angle here, or it's going to be up here at the horizontal line over here. I think somewhere up here is probably going to get hit around 2025, and that's going to be a pretty decent gain for PayPal. The other one that I don't have a position in, but I do have an interest in, because this is one of those sentiment checkers, is Upstart. What Upstart is doing is, again, it's found support here at the angle, and it's got some resistance here at the arc, right? I mean, right now we're just kind of stuck between resistance and support here, but just like Sofi, just like Affirm, just like PayPal didn't show you here on a weekly, you also have a Katana, right? And with Upstart, you also have a Katana building up, and it's back tested. Katana is trying to break through the weekly Ichimoku cloud here, having a little bit of a hard time doing so, but I think it'll break through. And then it also needs to break through this arc up here, but once it does, then I think price would end up gravitating up towards maybe around 62, 63, somewhere up here, which is going to be a pretty important level over here back in July 2023, where we got rejected at. And whenever that breaks, then we go higher. That's kind of what I see. And that's kind of what I see here with Upstart. I think it just needs to break above the current resistance, which I think it will break, and also the arc above, and then after that, go up a lot higher. The one that I'm really not sure about and is kind of in limbo here for quite some time is Square. Square is a little bit of an enigma. The reason why it is because it's kind of stuck in the middle. It's not super bullish, it's not super bearish. I do think that we're currently at an accumulation zone here, and I think I drew Square here on the monthly here on the Gann, and you can see how beautiful market symmetry that this Gann chart has. Just look at 180 and 5. You can see that it's just basically been challenging arcs after arcs and failed to break through this arc, so it ended up coming back down here, back tested, and we're kind of gravitating towards this arc up here, but it's hard for me to tell where it's going to hit. It's going to hit sideways, or is it going to hit up? There's no way for me to really tell for sure, but I think that's where it's gravitating towards. And also the same thing is telling you, like the Ichimoku here on the monthly, you're still stuck underneath resistance here. You're a little bit of a bullish Tengen Kijun cross, but currently Kijun is still surface resistance, so there's a little bit more things that it needs to work out. It's also currently underneath the flat to slightly negative sloping 20-month moving average, right? So it's a little bit kind of still waiting. I do think that it makes no sense for Square to not do well overall. If the other fintech stocks seem to be turning around, doing pretty decent, I think it probably it's one that requires a lot more patience to kick in. That's all. I currently don't have a position in Square or Blanc, but SQ overall, I do think that this is more like a accumulation zone over here, which if you're in it, I'm not that bearish on it. It looks like the sideways consolidation is happening on declining volume. All it takes just a little bit of volume for it to break out. I think this is the bottom. So, but anyway, we are flattening. We are having a little bit of negative slope here. So I am going to be a little bit more cautious. I'm not going to, get into it. I already have enough fintech. I have Robinhood, Affirm, Sofi, PayPal. I'm good. But anyway, I'm just want to go through these fintech stocks here real quick. They are looking better and better, and I like them. Take care. Bye.